Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mind Solution podcast, where today I am talking about emotional wobbles. And what I would say is if you are somebody who identifies as being a strong, independent woman, you're in a position of authority or responsibility at work. If you're somebody that actually generally feels like, you know what, I'm good, I've got my shit together. And also, if you are somebody who is single or you're in a relationship where you are not getting your emotional needs met, then this podcast episode is going to speak even more to you. So at the weekend, I had an emotional wobble. And it wasn't about anything in particular. It wasn't that anything major was going on in my life. I just felt quite emotionally wobbly. Now, I know, and if you've been listening to my other podcast episodes, you will have heard me talk about we create our own experience. So, whilst there was this part of me that knew that everything that I was experiencing was being generated from me, from my thoughts, from my focus of attention, whilst I knew that in terms of the emotional spectrum of ebb and flow, that all that was happening was I was just in an ebb. Wherever you place your focus of attention is where your energy goes. I'd just been focusing on some thoughts. I just got a bit tangled up in my thoughts. And also because I just come on my period, my emotions were just a little bit up and down. And so I just tuned into my body. I thought, what is it that I really need right now? Because as I will teach women in leadership who do my Women in Leadership program, I can teach you any number of things to navigate your way through choppy waters and to find the stillness and peace of mind within. I can teach you techniques that can neutralize your emotions, that can calm down your autonomic nervous system in a matter of minutes. And yet, what I also share with people, and this is what I'm sharing with you here today, is sometimes all that we need is we don't need to analyze why we feel the way that we feel. In fact, that's probably the worst thing that we can do because we're just going to get on that merry-go-round in our mind, going round and round and round in circles, creating even more emotional wobble until it literally just flings us off into the bushes. But actually, sometimes all we need to do is to just feel what it is that we're feeling. And to know that whatever it is that we're feeling is okay. Whatever it is that we're feeling doesn't mean anything about ourselves. And whilst I talk a lot about women that struggle with insecurity and self-doubt and anxiety and imposter syndrome, I also work with women who generally are strong and independent. But what I find with them, especially if they're in relationships where they're not getting their emotional needs met, that they don't have a healthy outlet for that emotion. And so when they experience emotion, it might not feel safe to just allow that emotion to come up. It might feel like they've got so much responsibility. Maybe they've also got kids, and it's like, I've got to keep my shit together. It might feel that it's not safe to be vulnerable. It might also be that some of these women think that emotion is a weakness. And so, whilst they are very strong, independent, financially independent, capable women, what they're not allowing themselves to do is to just feel whatever it is that they're feeling. And what happens when we keep hold of that emotion is it dysregulates the autonomic nervous system and it limits our ability to actually manage our emotions and to respond from more of an emotionally intelligent set point. And sometimes when we're experiencing these kind of emotions, there might be this sense that, well, something's wrong with me, I've got to fix this, I've got to do something about this. And my invitation to you is, what if that wasn't the case? What if these emotions were just letting you know that you're a little bit out of whack? What if these emotions were just inviting you to just press the reset button? And you know that way that when you've had a really good cry, and I mean like a really good cry, like snot and tears, that kind of cry, the cry that for me makes me look like Rudolph because my nose goes red. But afterwards, you feel better. You feel calmer. Quite often, if I've had a really big cry, then actually I just get really tired and I just want to have a little sleep because that's the body's natural healing response. And so, my invitation is you can be this strong, independent woman. But just like the line in one of my absolute favorite songs by Sia, the line that comes from the song Helium. Yeah, I wanted to play tough, thought I could do all this on my own. But even Superwoman sometimes needed Superman's soul. And for me, I really resonate with that. I actually have a picture of me about age 7 in a Wonder Woman outfit. I mean, this image is classic. It's proper retro. I've got a black wig on. I've got my hands on my hips. I've got socks where my boobs should be. And I've got these gorgeous blue terry toweling pants on. Oh my goodness. And every time I look at that photo, I just laugh. And I would say, because of the inner work that I've done, yes, I do show up as Wonder Woman more often than not. I am somebody that puts myself out there. I will stretch myself. I will go out of my comfort zone. I remember when I worked for for British Airways holidays. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it's popped into my mind and I feel compelled to tell you. When I worked for British Airways holidays, I was the head of people and I was on a maternity cover and I'd flown out to I was going to say Barcelona. It wasn't Barcelona. Um, Oh gosh, it's complete Bermuda. There we go. I'd flown out to Bermuda for my manager's wedding, Kath. And because we worked for British Airways, we got concession flights, which I so miss. And we'd flown out there business class. And on the way back, it wasn't really clear whether we were going to get into business class. And there was about 6 of us coming back on the same flight. And I'm a huge believer and always have been that if you don't ask, you don't get. And so I said, well, who do we need to who do we need to ask about getting bumped up into first class? Because it certainly wasn't the reservations desk. I knew that much. I'd not worked for BA for that long, but um, these people that I worked with that were on the flight back, they'd worked there for donkey's years. So it's kind of like, yeah, come on, who's the insider? Who do we need to track down? And they told me. And so I was actually in my last couple of weeks with BA because the lady that had been on maternity leave was coming back. And so I just walked up, in fact, I marched up to him and I just said, oh, I said, like, we all work for BA and it's my last couple of weeks. Here's my badge. This is my role. Please, can you put us in business class? And this guy, I don't know what, there must have been something about me, my energy. He just burst out laughing. He's like, let's see what I can do. And we like literally stood in the tunnel waiting to board the aeroplane. And he comes back and he's like, how many is there of you? Like he's some kind of waiter about to put us down into a table. And I was like, well, there's actually four of us because I don't know where the other two is. And he's like, right, I can take four of you. And so we got to fly back business class. And the two people that had disappeared off, they got put in cattle class and they were really, really, really pissed off. But what was really amazing was that every single person was just like, oh my God, that's never happened before. And it was all over the office. And I said, well, have you ever asked before? And they're like, well, probably not in the way that you did, Sarah. I'm like, well, there you go. So I'm sorry, I don't know, just a random story. But my moral of the story is I've never been afraid to put myself out there and be this independent woman that asked for what she wanted. But equally, I can still have these emotional wobbles. And so my invitation to you is when you do feel some emotion coming up, what if you didn't need to make that mean anything about you? What if you didn't need to make it mean that you were weak, that something was wrong, that your life was falling apart? Because what I absolutely know to be true is that the way that we feel is not permanent. The way that we feel, the way that we experience emotion is like clouds. One minute it's there and the next minute they're gone. But it's only when we lock on to, oh, you know, things becoming, making a mountain out of a molehill, thinking that everything's falling apart, that actually we keep ourselves in this emotional response. And so at the weekend, just tuning into myself, I didn't want to journal about how I felt. I didn't want to use any of the techniques that I'm trained in, like EFT tapping or havening. I just realized that my body just needed just a big cry. And crying is actually a wonderful thing to do because it also releases cortisol. And afterwards, I felt so much better. Snot, tears, everything. And it was just an indicator that I just got a little bit too caught up in some really old habitual thinking. And I didn't need to judge myself for that. I didn't need to freak out and think, oh, well, there's something going on. I'm going to need to fix this. Didn't need to do any of that. It was just giving myself permission to feel what I was feeling and to just release it. And so it regulated my autonomic nervous system. And then I was able to curl up and watch the new Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, and lust over 29-year-old men. I mean, what is there to not love about that? And so, my invitation is that when you do experience an emotional wobble, is maybe this is just an indicator that your body just needs a reset. And whatever we resist, it will persist. And maybe you're not about to have a big emotional snot and tears cry in the boardroom or on a Teams meeting, but wherever it's safe that you can just allow yourself to feel what you feel and have that release. Not make it mean anything about yourself. And then put your Wonder Woman pants back on and continue with the rest of your day. So I trust that you've taken something from this, even if it's just to laugh at the image of me in Wonder Woman terry toweling pants, or that it's got your imagination going about how you can get an upgrade next time you fly with British Airways. But I would love to know how this has landed with you. So do feel free to drop me a line or leave your comments in the comments box. And if you are a strong, independent woman, but actually you need an emotional wing woman, then do get in touch with me to find out about my Women in Leadership program. But for now, have a wonderful day.